Welcome to Discover Indie Film. I'm Jeff Howard, and this podcast is brought to you by Film Invasion Los Angeles and the Sherman Oaks Film Festival. And my guest today, sitting across from me in person, is ours, Scott McHenry. And I'm going to call you Scott because you go by Scott.
Perfect.
But thank you for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And your introduction includes mentioning the film Sentient. Should I say Sentient or Sentient?
I kind of flip-flop on it,
You flip-flop?
depending on the day, yeah.
Yeah.
No matter what I say, people tell me I'm saying it wrong, so...
Yeah, I'm wondering if the ch should be in there or not. I'm going to stick with Sentient.
Yeah, I try to pronunciate the sentient, and then if I'm feeling lazy or going fast, it's sentient. So.
Look, I'll be honest. I'm that annoying asshole who says caramel because Carmel is a city in Mexico and California. So anyway, Sentient had its world premiere at Film Invasion Los Angeles last year, 2025. And you took home the Grand Jury Award for Best Short Film Thriller. And you personally took home the Filmmakers Award for Outstanding Director of a Short Thriller. And I'll add that the Filmmakers Awards are decided by an alumni jury, the Filmmakers Board, which means your peers, active filmmakers, chose you as the best director of a short thriller. So, golf clap, bravo.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it was an honor to be there, honor to screen there. Before we get started, I just want to give you kudos on a great festival. I think still it's my favorite festival that I've been to.
Oh, it's so nice.
It was actually the first festival that I had screened in. Luckily, we did have a pretty successful festival run afterwards as well, where we screened it a few more. And yeah, I don't think any of them showed as much care and enthusiasm for the filmmakers and filmmaking in general as Film Invasion did. So I just wanted to thank you for putting that on.
Well, I appreciate that. And as you were there actually for our 10th anniversary of Film Invasion LA, the year that we finally put the motto that someone, years earlier, someone had said to me, your festival gives a shit. So I said, you know what? The festival that gives a shit, that should be our motto. And it was our unofficial motto for years. And then for the 10th anniversary, we put it on the shirts. And I appreciate what you're saying because, we care. And yeah, I'm sure your film did have a great run because it's a sci-fi. It's not just sci-fi. I think I'm sure you found people related to the topic because it's about, our artificial life. I could give that away, right?
Yeah.
It deals with AI and an artificial life form of sorts. And do we treat them as living beings or not?
Yeah. I think what I was really proud of with this project is just kind of the high concept of it and the scale of it. I feel like a lot of the times with low budget filmmaking, people try to scale it down to make it achievable on a low budget, but I always like to write whatever is in my head and write a bunch of short films, and then if something can't be made at that time, then put it on the back burner or move on. But I never try to write small because I know of the budget, and then you can either raise the money to do it or find a way to scale it down after it's written. But I never want the concept to feel small. So
and Sentient does not feel small at all.
Yeah, especially
if I'm sure this is something. Obviously, I can't quite remember the Q&A, but it definitely feels like it's very cinematic, and it's wonderfully shot and wonderfully acted. Obviously we have high standards at our festivals and we only let in great films, but it doesn't feel low budget at all.
No, I think a lot of that too is, like you said, it was well acted. When you have good actors, you can just put them in a static single and they can deliver the lines and make it feel like it's, a high quality film and a high budget film.
Yeah, but you manage to have multiple locations and good actors and good cinematography, and it just works. It just works.
Yeah.
And the reason I brought up the AI thing was that I'm glad to hear that you had a great festival run after your premiere with us, because it's the kind of film that I would think a lot of people would say yes to. I'm always confused when films in our festivals, like when someone says, "Yeah, I didn't get in anywhere else." I'm like, well, what the hell's wrong with everybody? That's a great film, but sometimes it's the politics of the day or the subject matter not resonating.
Yeah. I've met more people in the film festival circuit and people that do programming, and they always say it's so inconsistent what gets programmed and what isn't, and what the criteria is that year for the festival, or whatever the runners are looking for something specific, even runtime, genres, whatever. So, but But yeah, I thought the programming at Film Invasion was incredible, especially at the blocks that I saw. I only was able to go to that one day because I had just flown back the day before, but I went to as many blocks on that day that I could. And yeah, I didn't see a bad film, which I can't say for a lot of the other festivals that I've been to. But even within that block, the animated short that I saw, Lifted, was incredible. So yeah, I was just really impressed, and talked to all the filmmakers afterwards. Everyone was so nice. Everyone was so willing to swap stories, and yeah, it was just a great experience.
Yeah, I probably say this too often on the podcast, but I can't figure it out. But everyone is nice now. Like, I don't know if it's because our jury only chooses high quality films. It's funny because we sometimes get an email saying, "I'd love to be, I want to submit to Film Invasion LA 2026. Is there something specific you guys are looking for this year?" And my answer is quality. Sorry to be so generic, but it doesn't matter what genre, it doesn't matter the length, nothing matters as long as it's just great, you know?
Yeah, I also think too that just the indie film scene in general is full of great people, because it's a very humbling thing to do to make low budget films. Because yeah, you're just always dealing with problems, and you can never achieve 100% of your vision no matter what you do. If you're lucky, I think in low budget filmmaking, you can get 80% of the way there if you just really succeed. But yeah, you just don't have the budget to reshoot everything. You just kind of get humbled for sure.
And I think the people who make good indie films, particularly to accomplish that feat of making something good without massive resources, I think they just show more respect for each other and everything. Whereas, it's very funny. Sometimes I'm iffy on a film, but the rest of the jury likes it. I'm like, let's let it in. We've only had 2 or 3 jerks in the last 5-6 years, and it's always the worst film in the festival that year. And I'm like, gosh darn, I guess there's something about quality people make quality films, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's just a mutual respect too between filmmakers. When you've made one or a few, you know how difficult it is, and it takes a strong person to deliver one, and also to have the confidence to release it. I know a lot of people that make things and don't release it and never sees the light of day, because I think it takes a lot of confidence and being humble to put it out there in the world and say, well, let's see what everyone else thinks of it. I have my own thoughts.
It really takes a lot of courage to share. It really does, because this is, you're not bearing your soul, because it's not like the subject matter is personal, although sometimes it is, but you're still, you made something, you wrote and directed it, and you produced it with someone else. Like, this was your work, like sharing it with people. I imagine your world premiere was a little nerve-wracking. Or were you just like in a great mood? Was it an awesome day?
Definitely. I'm wired in a way that I guess once I've made it, I think I'm the harshest critic of my stuff. So once it gets to a point where I'm okay with it, if other people don't like it, it is what it is. By the time it gets into the world too, and I get through post, I'm already so mentally onto the next project that it's if people don't like it, then hopefully they like the next one, because I'm already kind of halfway through pre-production on the next one usually. So
very cool. Well, we're talking about you as a filmmaker, so that I'll use that as a segue, because I could use that segue you gave me to talk about the next film, because spoiler alert, I've seen your next short, because you submitted it to Film Invasion for 2026, and it's fucking great. It's fucking great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm really happy with it.
I'm ineloquent enough to have to use the F word multiple times when I really like something.
Yeah, me as well. Yeah, I think it's the New Jersey in me, but yeah.
Right, excellent. Well, but instead of segueing to the next film, let's go way back. When did you first get interested in filmmaking? What inspired you? Were you I'm assuming that you were a creative kid.
Yeah, I'll try not to ramble, because I had a bit of a strange path to get to LA and be a filmmaker. But I grew up in New Jersey. I think if you ask my family, especially my grandpa, they would say that I was destined to be an entertainer of some sort. I don't think it was necessarily movies early on, but I kind of always had, especially as a young kid, had a big personality.
So you kind of had a performer in you.
Yeah, I liked being the center of attention as a kid, for sure. And And then, like I said, wasn't into film. My family doesn't come from a film background, more technical family. And then went to college for engineering. Ended up getting more into film as I spent time in college, meeting new people, watching a lot of movies. Watched 2001, realized that, maybe movies can be art and more than entertainment. Started going down the rabbit hole of kind of better, more respected films. Took a couple random film classes, didn't minor in it or anything, but just liked the subject enough that I took a few history of film classes, and then did some stand-up comedy in college.
Nice, very cool.
Yeah, and then went and worked on the pipeline in Texas, water line, for the environmentalists out there. Don't
so
come
you were
for me
environmental engineering.
I was civil.
Mechanical? Civil. All right, gotcha.
Yeah. And then eventually moved to LA in 2021 after some soul searching and some work in construction.
And maybe witnessing the world come to a halt the year before. Did that
a little bit
transition?
I was in some interesting places though in the US during that time. I was in a very small town in western Kansas when COVID happened. It was 5,000 people, and it was a meat packing town in the middle of nowhere. And as a kid from New Jersey, that was very different than what I grew up with. And they all acted like I was a crazy person for, wearing my mask to the grocery store and stuff. So it almost felt like it wasn't happening. But obviously, to me, all my friends on the coast and in big cities it was very much happening.
Yeah, because New York and the surrounding areas were the first hit.
Yeah, so it was an interesting time. But yeah, I didn't move out here till 2021. So kind of was still working construction through that. And that was obviously an industry where you still had to show up to work. So
you moved out here, but you moved out here because you wanted to make a transition.
Yeah, so I was living in Denver in 2021 and was coming up to the end of my lease, was out there for a year, just taking a new job with a new construction company, doing management, and then was still not liking it very much at all. And then had my truck get stolen and got a big insurance check because that was the absolute peak of, I don't know if you remember when used cars were like $1 billion back then.
I remember there was a shortage of new cars and all of a sudden used cars went way up.
Yeah, so right at that spike, my car got stolen and they paid out the value of what I guess it would have sold for at that exact moment. So I ended up making money on owning a car. And then took some of that money when my lease ended, quit my job, and went to Europe to backpack and soul search for a little bit.
Oh, cool.
And told myself that if I still really wanted to move to LA, which I had for many years at that point, and make movies, that I would do that if I still wanted to do that after a few months.
And in my head, I'm forced to calculate. So like 2021, so we finally got a lot of people vaccinated halfway, 2/3 of the way through the year. And then that's when you just took off for Europe, and you actually... Like Europe was open then.
Yeah, it was all the rules are changing like every week. So I didn't have a full itinerary. I just went over there
But was that the best time ever to go to Europe because shit wasn't crowded?
Yeah, I mean, I had a great time. It was also closer to that winter. So I went October through December through that off season. And it was great. I just did a lot of solo traveling, met a lot of really interesting people from all over the world, stayed at hostels. For like $15 a night. Would just sit in parks a lot, read books, and talk to people that grew up a lot differently than I did, and it was a great time.
And like you said, and then you came back and you had told yourself if you still wanted to go to LA, you would do it?
Yeah, and then I came back and immediately went and found a place in West Hollywood, a co-living situation. Started waiting tables instead of doing construction management. Just got on any set I could, really. Was PAing on, no budget indie stuff, would go do acting on student films.
Right, because the industry was pretty fucked then, right? Because they had shut down a lot of production because of COVID, and then the strike came not long after.
Yeah, it was a bad time to try to get into as like a PA on anything credible. It was a bad time to get started, which might have been a blessing in disguise because instead of getting stuck as a PA on something big and not
working
getting
14
a lot
hours a day.
Yeah, I just kind of got to get on a bunch of different sets and see how a bunch of indie directors worked and see what to do, what not to do. I got to do every type of job out there. And then I just started making some no budget stuff myself. Kind of did every job that I could. I would edit my own stuff, directed it, lit my own stuff. It was obviously lit pretty terribly, but yeah, I at least know enough to have intelligent conversations with the people I hired to do it now.
So 2 questions you can answer. I'll ask one and then I'll ask the other after you answer. So only one question. Were you writing scripts the whole time? Were you sketching out ideas for films before the move, like all along the way, or were you just thinking of?
Yeah, when I was in college, I had this idea that I've developed now, and I'm actually turning into a graphic novel now, but it was kind of the one idea I couldn't get rid of, which started out more as a rip-off, probably Kill Bill, or an imitation of like a Tarantino revenge
Everyone's
movie.
first script is a rip-off, right?
Yeah. Since now 16 rewrites later, I think it's got much more of its own voice and is its own thing. But it was the idea I couldn't get rid of and kind of the thing that pestered me to want to come to LA. I was like, I really want to make this movie. I really can't get this thing out of my head. But I didn't write that first draft all the way through till I moved to LA. I always kept lying to myself, at least, or telling myself, once I get to LA, I'll be inspired to write. And then I was sitting in the dingy West Hollywood apartment and finally banged it out the first month and a half I was out here. So
that's pretty unique to say, when I get there, I'll do it. And then you weren't lying.
Well, I was out of excuses, you know.
Yeah, excellent. And you came here really with that one script in mind. It wasn't, you didn't have like a little stack of ideas. You were all in on that one. Yeah,
well, I was pretty naive on what it takes to succeed. I figured when I moved out here, I said I'll give it 3 years, and then if I'm not, selling this feature script and rich and famous by then, I'll head back and go back to construction. And then after about a year and a half, I realized it was going to be a lot longer than that, a lot more difficult to sell a feature script. So
pretty difficult, but I'm just going to make the comparison, which is that honestly, the engineering and construction background, I think, relates to producing indie films, right? Because it really is the same thing. It's about attention to detail. It's about managing different departments.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're 100% correct.
It really did relate for you, I bet.
Yeah, absolutely. And just giving you the confidence, too, to command a set is no different than commanding a construction site, especially when I was 23 years old and I was trying to direct guys that have been working construction for 30 years, There's a way you learn to approach people, especially professionals that know more than you do, and get them focused on a goal without disrespecting the fact that they know a lot more than you do. Asking the right questions and still, I guess, exuding the confidence where they trust you to get them to a finished product.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking, a script is right. A script is schematics. Mm-hmm. For in construction, you're I guess it's blueprints or plans.
Yeah.
It really does all relate.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Because, the way you take construction plans and say, this has got to be step A, this has to be done before this can be done, and then you go through and you order it out, right? You have to dig the hole before you can put the pipe in the ground, the same way that, you have to light a scene before you can roll camera and things like that. So
you had a producer's skill set, for sure.
Yeah.
And then you brought to it some creativity. So... all right, so you banged out that you land in LA, and then you you finish that feature, and then you're working on a bunch of indie stuff, which thank God indie was still going. And then when did you start writing some shorts?
Pretty much shortly after I finished the feature, I realized that if I wanted to make anything in the short term, it would have to be short films, and then wrote sketch comedy mostly early on as my...
Well, that's right, because you had also done stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
I'm ignoring the stand-up thing. Were you tempted to hit open mics and stuff?
I had my 5 minutes ready to go, but I just think that...
You're tight 5.
Yeah, I think both industries and both crafts require, if you want to be in the top 1% that it takes to be a professional at either, you have to focus entirely on one or the other. And I was more interested in the technical craft of filmmaking and just the scope of it, I guess, more so than stand-up comedy. And I just thought So I didn't want to spend all my time doing stand-up, especially I feel like they try to pigeonhole you as more of a comedy writer if you do that. Although it is a viable path for a lot of filmmakers to start out in, for sure.
Well, but also if you were doing that, then odds are 24/7 you'd be thinking, you'd be writing jokes and you'd be focusing on the act, so to speak, right? Because it's pretty hard when you're putting yourself on stage and you're that vulnerable. Again, vulnerability. Like, how do you not put all your mental and emotional energy into making those 5 minutes go well, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's, like you said, emotionally draining to be a performer. I'm definitely much more prefer to be behind camera than in front of camera or in front of the audience, for sure.
though you're not allergic to a cameo. But
No. Yeah.
But wait, let me not bring that up yet. So you after finishing that, you realize, and you've been obviously on some sets of where they were shooting indie shorts, and you saw how doable it can be, and then you decided to write that.
Yeah, I just, like I said, I wrote a few sketch comedy scripts that were 2-3 pages. I filmed a couple of those. The first one I filmed was called Dreaming of Jessica. That's on YouTube if anyone's interested in, how bad the early stuff is. But I do think the punchline in it is funny, and I'm still kind of proud of it. As when you watch the credits, my name shows up 8 of the 9 times, I think. So,
Which
for
is
what
funny
it was,
too.
it was it was enjoyable. But it was a classic student film. Wake up to the alarm clock, and then they go to the kitchen. So I look back, and I'm like, I could have cut 2 minutes out of the 4 minutes.
2 minutes out of your 3 to 4 minute film.
Yeah. But I still think it was funny and fun, and I learned a lot. And then from that, started writing more shorts, kept doing features and developing features. Just wanted to get more hands-on than writing. Did some acting classes, things like that. And then ended up writing a bunch of shorts for a production company that I'd sold. I sold about 11 of them to a production company. And 2 of them were actually the two of the short films that I've made. I ended up buying them back because there was some.
I mean, it's pretty unique to find a production company that'll buy shorts.
Yeah, it was through some of my connections when I was PAing that they had ambitions to kind of develop a YouTube page or a distribution channel, or they wanted their own original content for it. So it was a mix of getting some story concepts from them and developing them, and then selling some original stuff. And it was interesting to work for somebody else, I guess, and tell stories for somebody else and get notes and have to incorporate all that feedback and have that back and forth with a client versus just writing whatever you want. So that was...
Couldn't be more different.
Yeah, but then they ended up running out of money after making. They had bought like 50 shorts from a bunch of people. I think they made eight or so of them, and then ran out of money. I had some creative differences on the couple that I'd sold that I really liked, which were Sentient and Consumed by You, which is the next one. And I really wanted to make them a certain way, and they wanted to make them a very different way. So I ended up buying them back and just said, I'll just.
Well, fortunately, they went a little. They went belly up, and you were. Did you just get it back for the same price, or did you get a discount? You got a discount, like
no, they made me pay more.
They made you pay more.
Yeah, so I think funny. I got paid 15 cents a word. I had to buy them back for 20 or 25 cents a word or something like that. So I still made money in the grand scheme. But
still a good story. Yeah,
learned a lot. But yeah, I eventually got back into, I do construction management for my 9 to 5 now. I wanted healthcare and stability.
It's good to have it's great. It's great to have a way so that you don't have to compromise on the arts.
Yeah.
You've got food and shelter, which human beings do require.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's have a little money to rent locations and, pay crew a little bit.
So you went back to that, and then that's when you started planning out. I guess you knew Sentient would be the first one of those 2 because it's a little shorter, right? And a little.
It felt more achievable, I guess, for what my skill set was at the time, because I knew that.
Oh yeah, because Consumed by You is more I mean, believe me, I'm going to start praising it, which is hilarious, but it will be an official selection for sure. But like I admit, I watched it. And then I don't look at who made it before. Like I just, and then I saw your name on it and I was like, man, this was ambitious. This was an ambitious second film and you pulled it off. So like, bravo.
Thank you very much. Yeah, no, there's a reason I ordered them like I did. And I wanted to, I think the most important thing too, when you're starting out is networking and feeling like you have people you trust in every role of the crew. And I didn't feel like I quite had people that I fully had worked with before and trusted in certain areas, specifically production, like the production design and Consumed by You and the costumes and things like that. I just hadn't met those people yet. So I wanted to make Sentient first and build that network and just keep learning.
Yeah, and you knew you could get the Sentient look you wanted.
Yeah, because it was modern set and it was more contained. Yeah. It was...
Yeah, oddly enough, it was less world building, even though it was a bit sci-fi. It's definitely sci-fi, but you used the modern world, so it made it...
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I think Sentient was... What delivered it was the acting and the dialogue. It was very dialogue driven. It was less visually driven. So as long as the performances were good and I thought the script was good, so I was confident that as long as we could deliver that small action sequence, which I knew I had great stunt people that I'd made short films with before, and knew that I could deliver at least some of those camera setups and things like that, that I was more confident to deliver that one.
Right. It is funny to say because obviously making a great film is one of the hardest things in the world to do. And yet I'm tempted to say, look, if you've got a good story and you tell it well and you've got good actors helping you tell it well, but I don't know why it's the hardest thing in the world.
It definitely makes it easier to have a good script.
Yeah, if you have a good story.
You could still mess it up though, for sure.
You can't every step of the way.
Yeah.
Including, the best script in the world can be great on the page and great on the set, and then you have an edit that doesn't work.
Yeah, I think I lost my train of thought earlier, but when I was talking about Dreaming of Jessica, I was talking about the second one I made was another sketch comedy that never saw the light of day because I got a little cocky thinking that it was easy to make a decent movie. So we didn't do much pre-production, just walked into set, had one other guy working with me, a couple actors I never rehearsed with, and we sat down to make it, and it just was a disaster. There was didn't pay any attention to set design, didn't pay any attention to costume colors, anything like that, and that was humbling, and that's when I got back. It was a
learning experience, right?
Yeah.
You learned, yeah, because that's your film school. Your film school was really self-taught.
Definitely, and I kind of look at Sentient as my senior thesis or something like that. As I feel like that was the end of... I'd built a team, I'd done a good amount of networking, and I felt I had the tools to go make more ambitious stuff.
For sure. So. Absolutely. Yeah, and look, it's great, and it's great that one of them ended up on YouTube, and it's great that you have the taste to look at some stuff and go, all right, that I'm burying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you had the plan for 2 shorts from the beginning then.
Yeah, I always looked at these 2 as a package just because they'd come from that group that I'd bought back. So I always looked at these 2 as kind of a 1-2 like sister movies or sibling movies, and even made some choices with color palettes and things like that with that in mind, so that Sentient was very red and yellow and Consumed by You was very pink and green, and wanted them to complement each other. If you even ever sat down to do a double feature, they're very different, but I think you can see a little bit of similar influence between them. I
could see that. Although it's funny to me, Consumed by You almost has a European feel.
Yeah, there's some Yorgos Lanthimos influence in there. Just because I think the dark, dry humor that's kind of hidden beneath the surface of it is very European style comedy.
I think you're right. And you spent some time over there, but yeah, that's how it.
Yeah, I just also love European comedy in general. I think they have, Monty Python and all that stuff is dry British humor is
that's
phenomenal
true.
Stuff.
It's true because, I mean, it's not absurdist, but it's wonderfully presented. It's presented as not absurdist, even if something absurd might be happening.
Yeah.
It's taken very seriously.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Which is what I think Yorgos Lanthimos does pretty well, is why I drew some influence from his filmography. Is absurd things happen, but the characters don't acknowledge that the absurd things are happening.
Oh my God,
or that
like The Lobster is one of the most absurd things ever, right?
Yeah.
And yet, yeah, it's played perfectly straight.
Yeah, and I think it just gives you an interesting window into the characters' worlds and minds to play it that way.
Yeah.
So.
Which I'm going to be that goofball who says, which is the human condition. Like, human beings are ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody wants to acknowledge that they're ridiculous. Everyone else is.
Right? We pretend like we're like, super geniuses and blah, blah, blah. But we're a really goofy species.
Yeah, and everyone contradicts themselves all the time.
All the time.
Yeah. Everyone will get up on a soapbox and say, never do this or don't act that way. But then as soon as they step down, they'll go and do at least one of those things,
For sure. And you meet someone and you think that person is like, yeah, everyone has something amusing about them. I won't say quirky or whatever, but yeah, everyone has their little whatever quirks. I did say quirks.
Yeah, I find people vastly interesting. Which I love people watching. I think half of my European trip was just sitting around watching people interact with each other.
I think that makes you a writer. That is a trait that writers have to have, is they find people interesting and they observe, because you have to. Otherwise it's all going to be navel gazing.
Definitely. And I think that also influenced my decision to move around a lot in my early 20s and go to college halfway across the country. I just wanted to see what people in different parts of the world were up to, and if they all lived up to the stereotypes I'd heard back in New Jersey. Well,
yeah, you didn't tell me where you went to school.
University of Kansas.
Oh, that's right. You did mention Kansas. Oh no, you mentioned you were in Kansas. No,
yeah, I was in Western Kansas for a while.
But that was after. That was during.
Yeah, it's
COVID.
Middle of nowhere, Kansas.
Yeah.
Luckily, the University of Kansas.
Wow, to go from the eastern seaboard to the flattest state on earth, like it's just like Kansas is a plain.
Well, University of Kansas is about where the mountains end. It's right near Kansas City, and then if you drive west out of Lawrence, Kansas, then it's nothing until you hit Denver, basically.
Got it.
But it was a great college town. There's a good film school there as well. Kevin Wilmot is a screenwriting teacher there who won an Oscar with Spike Lee and wrote a bunch of really great screenplays. And I remember
was that for Black Klansman or
no? But he did write that, I believe.
Okay,
right?
Yeah.
It was for.
Oh, Black Klansman didn't get it, and it deserved it. I think I remember that.
Yeah, I want to say it was. I can't remember off the top of my head if it was Do the Right Thing but it was one of those earlier Spike Lee works, and they still collaborate all the time. But I naively went up to him, I think my senior year, when I was started to take a couple film classes, and had an outline for what was titled The Cowboy back then, which is the revenge story that I alluded to earlier, and asked him for input on the outline and this and that. And he was kind enough to take the meeting and talk to me. You couldn't take his class unless you were in the film school and further along, but he sat me down, and his advice was to go write the thing. He said, it's not worth my time to give you input on this outline, but you should go write the thing and come back to me. So yeah. I'll have to try to reach out to him again. And
you wrote the thing. It took you a while, but you wrote the thing.
Yeah, 6 years later I wrote it. But yeah,
look, that's not slow.
Yeah,
for a first feature, especially starting from scratch the way you did.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, excellent. So Sentient was a great. Sounded like. And that was actually the first time you were direct. No, you made the stuff for YouTube or for yourself, and it might have ended up on YouTube in some sketch comedy.
Yeah, I did make a more ambitious short film that was about 24 minutes called Within. That's also on YouTube. That was definitely much higher quality than Dreaming of Jessica. There was actual crew to that. We went and shot in Joshua Tree, which. To any new filmmakers out there listening, do not go into the middle of the desert to try to shoot the first thing you've ever made with a crew. There's no cell service. You can't get a hold of anyone. I think I had like 3 walkie-talkies for the whole crew. It was 105 degrees in the middle of August. We did a lot of night shooting outside, which required trying to light
Oh, I was
giant
about to say
exteriors.
exterior day is your only saving grace of being out there.
Yeah, so we just found giant rock formations and blasted all the aperture lights we could off of it to emulate at least what the sky cranes can do and stuff with overhead lighting for night exteriors. And it worked pretty well. I'm actually pretty proud of the second half of that movie. The first half, I learned a lot as a director in making dialogue interesting. There was a couple intricate shots I had plans with sliding rails pulling out of mirrors and things like this that we just couldn't get right and eventually got left on the cutting room floor. So I think all the fun shots in the beginning kind of got lost. But if anyone out there watches it and gets to the second half, I think the second half is pretty good.
Well, and I will do my podcaster voice when I say there will be a link in the show notes to your YouTube for sure if you want. You got
Great,
it.
yeah.
We will link right to it.
We'll take whatever
someone go right in the
views we
show
can
notes
get.
right now, hit pause, and go watch this stuff. Why not?
Yeah, Sentient's on there as well, so you can go watch the whole filmography of Dreaming of Jessica and Within and Sentient. So
Excellent. And so after those experiences, I guess you knew that you were ready for Sentient then.
yeah, I felt pretty comfortable after Within. Like I said, I was proud enough of it especially for what it was. I was very proud of it and felt that I had the tools to go make higher concept stuff. And really, I think what I learned the most is getting lean with movies as well. Making a 24-minute short, I thought there was a lot I can cut and just trying to do more with less dialogue, with less exposition, show things visually, trust the audience a little more to make up their own mind when they see something, and hopefully leave the theater or leave their computer screen with some questions or some talking points to go think about. So
It is so much fun to have a screening, whether it's the festival or somewhere else, but where audience members start debating what it meant. There's nothing I love more than like an open-ended question, and then you have like people just start taking sides. I love that.
yeah, and I think I need to, in my next festival run with Consumed by You, I'm going to try to answer less questions about what the intent was on some of this stuff, because I do like leaving it more up to the audience. There's certainly core themes that I keep in mind when making something, but it was a lot of fun when I put Sentient out on YouTube, and a lot of people in Kansas City and New Jersey and people that I, friends and family and people I haven't talked to in a long time would reach out with what their ideas were on what they thought it was about. And there was some great answers in there that I hadn't even considered before. And I was like, yeah, sure. That's definitely what it was about.
So interesting. Yeah. It is actually a fun answer during a Q&A if someone says, did you intend blah, 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 or someone, what did you intend? And you just go, well, what do you think? Share your opinion. Yeah, because once art is out there, it really is open to interpretation. It just absolutely is.
Yeah, and especially too with Sentient and some of the bigger concept stuff, I think there's a lot of layers to it. And what I intended to be, I guess, the main layer or the icing, somebody might think is might take as the most important thing, or they might take some of the subtext as the most important thing over what I intended to be the core theme. So I don't want to take that away from them if that's what they got the most out of it.
For sure. And so you had a good experience with it. Shooting it went well. You learned everything you had to learn to do this one, and it came out well. And you said you edited it, yeah? Oh, no.
Sentient? No, I did not.
You didn't. I was thinking
Never. After Dreaming of Jessica, I left it to the professionals.
Gotcha.
I try to know enough to know that what I'm asking for is achievable or not, I guess.
Right.
And understands, yeah.
So shooting went well, post went well.
Yeah, it all went great.
And then you hit the festival circuit running, because by then you knew about the festival circuit.
Yes.
Was that something that you were aware of, early on, or?
For Within, I kind of knew what I had and knew that it was 24 minutes long, and knew that it was going to be tough to pitch. So I didn't have ambitions for that one. But with Sentient, I did do more of a contained. I think I submitted to about 9 or 10 festivals, got into, I think 3 or 4 of them, one of which was Film Invasion. But most of the ones I submitted to were from people I knew that said, hey, this is a great festival, you should submit to this one. One of our actresses, Tess, told me about Film Invasion and said that it was a great one, and knew some people that had participated in the past, and that's why
Well,
it was
so
one
I
of
have
the
to thank
10.
I have Tess to thank that we got to do the role.
Yeah, and I've already thanked her because it was a great recommendation. And
Wow, I wonder how she knew about us. It's so fun. I actually probably live in a weird little bubble where I just assume everyone looks at that top 100 best reviewed list and I know when we get to do a world premiere, it's not too intentional. It's just luck of timing.
yeah, well, just as someone that wasn't out here for long, I've been out here kind of long enough now to start knowing what the good mid-level and mid-range ones are, but really the only ones I'd heard about when I moved out here was Sundance, Tribeca, and TIFF and South by Southwest, and after that it was all just unknown to me. So, and you go on Film Freeway and there's 1,000, even the top 100. I was like, I can't afford to submit to all top 100.
Do
so,
100, no.
yeah, tried to narrow it down and just ask people that had been out here a lot longer, and a lot of them, I know you allude to it in some of your other episodes, but a lot of them can be a little scammy.
Sometimes people talk. I try not to talk shit about other ones, but when people do, I definitely agree with them. There's a lot of them just. Well, they're good capitalists, as I always say. That's my excuse. But would you believe me? I actually just recently did a little research and found out that if you search for Los Angeles on Film Freeway, you get 493 festivals. Then once you rule out all the online only ones and ones that don't take place in Los Angeles, but they mention it like in their verbiage, it's still something like 200.
Wow.
I can't remember, but it's more than 250, I think. So that means on average there's 5 per weekend in this town.
Yeah, I can believe it. There's quite a few, and a lot of the times too, other filmmakers that I know or have worked with will post laurels, and I'll go, I've never heard of that place, but you look it up, and yeah.
Well, and I'll look at lineups of other festivals in the area, and I'll see all the films they're showing that we rejected, and I'm like, God, you guys just don't care, do you? That's such an asshole thing to say, but it's true. I can't help it,
Yeah, I try to go support as many of my friends when they screen at some of these, and some of them surprise you and get added to the list that I would like to submit to, and then a lot of them are. Yeah, like I said, yours definitely pays the most attention to the filmmakers and makes them feel special and appreciated. And it sucks when I've had a couple that I've submitted to and had Sentient screen at. One of them where they forgot to play Sentient in the block, even though I delivered the DCP, and I think more than half the theater was there to see Sentient, and it was one of 8 films, and they forgot to screen it. Had to chase the guy down, and he put it on after the whole block had played, and the lights went on. People were funneling out, and they just turned them off and played it without anyone coming into the theater, and that's.
I mean, that could have been a technical error, but also a block of 8 or 9. I never liked that personally. But also, I mean, I say it all the time, which is because we just care about quality, all the films are good. And I know when you see your film, right, you got to see Lift in I mean, I believe you were in a block of 4 shorts probably, and all 4 were great. And the other stuff you went to was great.
Yeah, Baby Husbands.
Baby Husband's so fun.
Was a fun one for sure. It was a nice mix of like comedy and then the sci-fi and then Lifted, the animated short that was romantic. And then the 4th one was, I forget the name, but it was the like an all Filipino American cast, and it was the grandfather that taught his grandson how to paint, or was teaching the kids how to paint.
I love that. Yeah.
So
that was. Oh my God, I'm blanking on the title myself.
Yeah, but I met a couple of the cast members after that one as well, and they were all fantastic. And actually, I think the DOP for Sentient had done lighting for that film as well. So he had 2 of the 4 there. So wow. Small world,
I'm so tempted to look it up, but I won't. But my apologies to that great. Yeah, it was had the spelling bee. Grandpa's Corner.
That was it. There you go.
Woo! I didn't even have to look. Grandpa's go. Yeah. Was that. Yeah, lovely. But what I was gonna get to is when you go to a festival and you see your film in a block and there's bad films in the block as
Yeah.
well as yours and good films. That feeling I hate that feeling.
Yeah, no, it definitely, like I said, felt great at Film Invasion when mine screened in between those other ones. I was like, oh, maybe I actually am a good filmmaker if it's playing them with all these other good ones, you know?
The answer is yes, you are.
Yeah. So it's nice to have that validation, I guess.
Yeah.
So
Excellent. And then you and now you've got it online because you wrapped up your festival run.
yeah, that one's been out since we put it out for Halloween, basically.
Oh, that checks out. I mean, I love that you chose the thriller category.
Yeah,
But,
it was hard to put, but yeah, I just don't think there was enough true sci-fi in there or hard sci-fi. It was a little more.
Look, people. That's another thing. People send emails. What category should I submit to? And I'm like, we don't care.
Yeah, well, Consumed by You was even harder to try to
I
fit
bet
into
it's
genre.
really hard. I can't even. Do you do drama? Do you do art house experimental?
The three I've been trying to pick are comedy, drama, and romance.
Oh, okay.
Just going. It's somewhat of a blend of those three.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't consider genre or category at all when we're making the official selections. It just affects category. Just affects our awards.
Yeah, which I think is how it should be, especially if you look at all the big awards like the Oscars. I mean, the things that submit as comedies and what submit as dramas and this and that are all a bit of a stretch.
There
to say
is
the
no
least.
soapbox big enough for me to get on to talk about the injustice of awards and how genres that are not drama, a period drama is going to win almost all the time.
Yeah.
Which I'm now forced to mention that yesterday I saw the Oscar-nominated shorts.
Oh,
at,
yeah.
the TV Academy. A friend took me. I got to see the animated and the live action. And there is a film called Jane Austen's period drama.
Really?
And it was my favorite of the day.
Yeah.
And it's on YouTube, so people should watch it. But
Yeah, I really want to, because they always play it at the theater near me near Sawtell. That's like all they play all year long is that and Rocky Horror Picture Show.
yeah,
and
the new art.
Yeah, the New Art, and it's attached to the DVD rental place, which is my favorite DVD rental place in LA. But yeah, they always play it, and I want to go this year for sure. See it there.
Yeah. It's well, I won't say anything.
Perfect. So if you don't consider genre when you select your blocks, how do you determine what plays together in a block? Or
Oh, the block part's fun. I honestly, I just choose. Well, I mean, I'm not necessarily genre, but maybe tone and quality. But I just make sure they don't contradict because I actually feel that as long as they're not contradictory and like clash, quality, like you can have a great something just original and funny like Baby Husband, and then something just visually stunning like Lifted, or you might and then your film, and then like a touching drama. Obviously, something that makes you cry has to be last.
yeah,
You cannot if it makes
Yeah.
So I actually just sort of try to plan out like an emotional ride.
yeah. And I thought it was beautifully crafted as
Yeah.
well. And even like I said, the other blocks that I saw were definitely not the same. It was like a horror and then an experimental, and then I guess to your point, it was the emotional ride for the last. of the
because it should be.
blocks.
Because I mean, I've said this maybe too many times, but like if you do a block of 4 to 6 comedies in a row, the
Yeah.
audience doesn't have that many laughs in their bodies. The first 2 will get some laughs, but the third one, even if it's the funniest, it's not going to get laughs. And then the
Yeah.
fourth and the fifth, like
It's probably the same way, with thrillers or any genre.
Yeah, you get
just-
burned out on anything.
Yeah, you're
Yeah,
like,
you
all right,
kinda-
let's get something new, especially in the modern age of TikTok and Instagram reels. You got to give them something fresh.
Yeah. So that's sort of the philosophy, and
Yeah.
and then I always joke that like, look, my job's easy because the jury, and I'm a member of the jury, but because we only choose good films, it's pretty easy to put a good film with a good film. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what. God, if we ran a festival that showed, one of those ones I shit on by, the ones that show bad films as long as they promise to bring a lot of people.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens. Like, man, I would lose sleep thinking about how am I going to put Sentient with something terrible. I wouldn't be able to do it. I'd have to have a terrible block and a great block.
Yeah. Yeah, I think quality over quantity is definitely the better way to go for reputation long term as well. So
that's our goal. That's our goal. That's
So I've been touting your festival to anyone who will listen. When they ask where they should submit, I always send them Film Invasion. I do want to go to Sherman Oaks as well.
They really are the same beast. They're identical twins with different names.
What theater do you guys use for Sherman
Same
Oaks?
one.
Oh,
actually.
really? In
Glendale? We had to leave. They wooed us out there because it's such a great venue.
Yeah.
And there was no good theater in the Sherman Oaks area for a long time. Now they're finally refurbishing the Regal here.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'd never been to Glendale before that either. I know a couple people that grew up in Glendale that I work with, but I'd never been there, and it was way nicer than
it's actually a nice part of
advertised.
town. Actually,
Yeah.
it's actually really nice. Believe me, I wish we could just pick it up and put it in another part of town because Glendale's a little far east for some folks, I think.
Yeah, there's a lot of film people though live up in North Hollywood, Burbank. It's probably easy enough for them.
Yeah.
So, but it gives me an excuse to go to Rafi's place as well. If you've never been, it's the best Persian food in LA.
Really?
It's like 2 blocks away from that theater.
Oh, I haven't been, and I love Persian.
Oh yeah.
All right. I guess I'm gonna have to go to Rafi's place.
Yeah, I'd be concerned about giving away the secret, but I think a lot of people know about it. There's always a wait. So
See, I like Shamshiri and Westwood. I can throw them a nod.
yeah.
But anyway,
I'll have to write that down.
my
My girlfriend's Persian, so I had a lot of Persian food.
Oh,
But, yeah,
Persian food's good.
it's delicious.
It really is.
It's
Yeah.
delicious.
Yeah. No, Persian culture. Look. L.A. is like little Tehran anyway. So
Yeah,
L.A. has everything actually.
it's true.
We've got a great Thai community, great all the communities. Is the right term polyglot? We're a polyglot community.
Yeah, I'm just learning that word now, but yeah. It sounds right.
Well, I should look it up and make sure I'm not misusing it, but all good. All right, so after Sentient, you knew Consumed by You was coming. You had a
I've
plan.
been sitting on this one for a couple of years now. I think just saving up a little money to be able to afford the costume and location budget for it. And then
because you knew you wanted it to look
I didn't want to make it
a step up, really.
Yeah, I didn't want to make it for anything less than what I'd been waiting to make it for, I guess. It was still pretty tight. You know, there were certain things that we couldn't do, but there was like even the prosthetics and stuff turned out way better, and we were able to do that for Shoestring because we had such a great SFX department that took bald caps and was able to make I guess spoiler alert.
It's up to you. It's up to you.
Yeah.
We could just say that there's some damage to human bodies,
Yeah, we could say that.
and that doesn't give anything away.
Yeah, and it looked
But
great.
by the way, it looks great.
Yeah.
It looks like
There are certain things I thought we'd have to touch up with VFX, and we just really didn't. I mean, there was only about 3 frames we had to do VFX for, and one of them was the computer monitor in the office because they didn't have power to the computer monitors. So that was one of the only curveballs. But that one just went so much smoother than Sentient in terms of challenges, where I was looking over my shoulder every hour waiting for something dramatic to go wrong during that shoot, and it really went great. So
I'm gonna give you. I laugh when you saw me laugh for no reason. It's because I'm gonna give you a compliment that I've never given before. But I think you'll get why this is a very high compliment. Consumed by You makes you look like a trust fund kid.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Perfect.
Like sometimes we get films submitted to the festival, and then you find out it's from a trust fund kid, and that's why it looks so great.
Yeah. Well, we did spend a little money, but in terms of what films cost to make, I mean, I'll say the budget, it was 20,000. Like we went a little over, like 22. Most of it's locations.
That's less than the average
but-
USC student film.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And cheaper than me going back to film school for an MFA, for sure. But it was double what I made Sentient for. But that was why I got back into engineering, was so that I could save some money up and make my own stuff and not have to sacrifice. But yeah, I don't mind saying the budgets, I guess. I think some
That's your call.
people try
That's your
not to
call.
say it so that they can, I guess, pretend like they made it on more of a shoestring or less of a shoestring. But
It's funny, yeah. And also, I guess I'll compliment you. Like your numbers are reasonable. I think, right, with the number thing, people either want the number to be absurdly low or absurdly high. Like they want to like brag. They want an extreme, like. In fact, I think all the famous films we know of that had absurdly low budgets, I'm told it's always a lie. Like El Mariachi.
Oh yeah.
Like the first cut was cheap.
Yeah, or they got a lot of free labor that they don't want to talk about.
Yeah, but I mean, like the version that we saw after it got picked up for distribution had a lot more money poured into it.
Oh yeah, touch ups, posts.
Yeah, just all that stuff. Like but it just makes a great story.
Yeah, a lot of the people that I've worked with when I was PAing on indie stuff they do pay their rent with this stuff. So I at least, and also too, I just try to pay people at least a little something on my sets because I think it makes it a professional set. And then every single person that touches the movie treats it differently when they're being compensated to be there, I guess.
That's why we're a no volunteer festival.
Yeah.
Because volunteer people who aren't getting paid almost make a point of letting you down, I think.
Yeah, and you can't really give them shit for not giving a certain level of effort, I guess, if you're not compensating them something. And I'm not paying these people life-changing money. I mean, and at the end of the day, it's LA. If you pay them $100 a day on set, they're getting, a meal out of it, or take their partner out to a meal with it, maybe. But it at least makes them feel like they're being appreciated, and it's a 12-hour grueling day that I'm asking. We're doing 35 setups a day and stuff like that, so it at least makes them feel appreciated and like I'm trying to do something.
Yeah, and then they get to see it and they're like, man, I was part of something that looks really great.
Yeah, we actually just had the cast and crew screening for Consumed by You 2 days ago on Saturday, and people loved it. At least that's what they told me to my face. We'll see what they say when they get home. But yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Well, I think they probably liked it. Excellent. And so what's the plan after this? Well, you're going to do a festival run, obviously, with this film. And then are you thinking feature? Are you thinking another more ambitious short?
So I have a couple things going right now. I'm making a graphic novel out of what's now called Dig Two Graves, which is the revenge feature that I talked about. And it works great in that medium, and gonna try to use that established IP to pitch. And I think it's a great way to get lesser creative people to understand the vision and exactly what you're trying to deliver. And it's also just a great way to tell the story. If it never gets picked up or never gets made, at least it exists out in the world in the way it lives in my head.
I was actually into cinema and filmmaking before I discovered graphic novels in the 80s. It was the Dark Knight Returns made us all aware. Yeah. And first time I saw a graphic novel, I'm like, this is a storyboard.
Yeah.
Like it really is like a screenplay that's been storyboarded.
It's just a high quality storyboard, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very high quality storyboard. But it is yeah, so it totally makes sense to do a graphic novel out of your feature script. Especially
for that script specifically is a bit it works well in that format because it's big action pieces, large set designs, kind of over the top characters. So it really plays well. And what's nice is you don't have to scale anything down at all to tell the story. Like we were doing this one sequence where the character gets out of his car and walks down an alley and enters a bar. And in the script, it's a busy street down in Memphis, Tennessee. And then I was talking about it with the guy that does the artwork for the graphic novel. And he's like, well, let's put a marching band in there. It's when he's walking down the street, let's have a whole parade coming down the street. And if you were shooting a film, you'd be like, oh, it's a $3 million scene right there. But in a graphic novel, you could do whatever you want. And so, yeah, it's great.
That's the genius of, I remember when The Simpsons and South Park, when they would talk about the fact, we can freaking have UFOs from outer space. We can do anything. We can be as creative as we want, and it costs just as much as putting in a whole episode inside the house. Yeah,
it's easy to do a cartoon Martian. It's harder to do hair and makeup for a Martian.
for sure. But it's also a great way to show people your vision, and then hope that it gets.
Nobody wants to greenlight anything that doesn't have IP these days, so you got to have some IP, I think.
I guess you're right. You're right. It's all about maximizing synergy.
Yeah. But yeah, other than that, I am directing. I've been directing a couple actors' reels and things like that on the side as well. And then I'm just signed on to direct a short film called Treat for Arden Stoles, she wrote it. She was starred and Consumed by You. So that's going to be a good one. We're fundraising for that right now, trying to get some money together. And that's hopefully the next project gets off the ground, shoots this summer. And then after that, I would love to do a feature film. I just got to get the right script. Everything I keep writing is just like $100 million movie. I got to write something I can make for a low 6-figure budget or something.
Right, because when you sit down to write, you don't give yourself limits.
Yeah, which blessing and a curse, I guess. But yeah, I've
Blessing
been writing this gigantic epic set in between the First and Second Greco-Persian Wars, and it's got 12 characters, and it would be a period piece. We'd have to get a bunch of armor and giant set designs, and that's a tough sell for a first feature. For sure.
Man, you just named a history nerd's dream. I won't bother saying it while we're recording, but remind me to say something about it after the outro, because I brought up those wars at dinner with my nephew.
Yeah,
I love history, and that those wars are amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think too, just kind of complex period pieces with large scopes have become more popular, are coming back again. There was that era in the early 2000s where you had Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, Troy were all coming out, and Hollywood was greenlighting a bunch, and then there was the big drought, and then post Game of Thrones, and after the Northmans had some success, Robert Eggers, I think people are looking to greenlight some bigger scale stories, and Dune as well, I think.
Yeah, but of course Dune was IP, so that's why you're going to do the graphic novel.
Yeah,
so the pre-existing
the graphic novel idea popped in my head to do for this Greek epic, because I thought that would work really well, because you can tell a story at scale, and then just the more I was looking at the other finished script I had, I was like, this would be great as well. And it's been a great idea. So we're just finishing Act 1 of the 4 acts of that feature script is 28-page graphic novel. So
very fun, very cool.
Yeah,
excellent. All right, congrats. So I think we covered what we need to cover.
Sure.
Excellent. All right, I'll wrap us up then. Well, thank you, Scott.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you for submitting your films.
Absolutely.
It's believe me, you should see what my mood is like when I see 20, 30 bad submissions in a weekend, all in a row. I just start crawling in. I end up on the floor in the fetal position, being like, the festival won't be good this year. We need better. But I've only watched more. There's a lot more. But yours is one of the better ones I have seen this year.
Thank you. I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. So you lifted my mood that day. I was like, yeah, a good one.
Perfect.
But all right, so I will wrap us up. I already thanked Scott. So now I'm thanking everyone who's listening. If you are listening to this is the Discover Indie Film Podcast. Like I said at the beginning, it's brought to you by the Sherman Oaks Film Festival and Film Invasion LA. If you want to learn more about this podcast, you go to discoverindiefilm.com. That is where you can learn all about the podcast and stuff that grows from it. On social media, it's always at DIFWins. And I always mention, because why not, that I quit social media, which means that my wonderful podcast producer, Karina Wolf. Karina will answer your questions if you send questions on there. And some people do, actually. And it's kind of cool. And then she texts me and says, what should I tell this person? I'm like, whatever you feel like. But my life is better without social media. I'm not recommending everyone quit, but think about it. All right, so anyway, that's discoverindiefilm.com. If you go to discoverindiefilm.org, that is the website for the nonprofit that runs those 2 film festivals we talked about. Both are in the top 100 best reviewed out of 14,000 festivals worldwide. It's kind of fun to have 2 out of 100 when it's out of 14,000. And that's Film Invasion Los Angeles and Sherman Oaks Film Festival. I won't bother with their actual websites. But they also have a cousin in South America now, because they both hit their 10th anniversary last year. And now this year, we started the year with Film Invasion Lima in Peru. And now we'll have the 11th Film Invasion LA afterwards. But it swelled my heart with joy, because a couple of the people who were local and attended, we got one of those emails that said, this was the best festival I attended, about Film Invasion Lima. And I'm like, yes.
They got the best guinea pig on the planet there too.
Oh.
I was just there like 3 months ago.
Oh, you were? You tried it?
Yeah,
Tried
I
the
forget what
guinea
it's
pig?
called over there, but
Cavi? I know they're called Cavi somewhere, but I don't mean to guilt trip you, but we had a guinea pig for 6 years.
Yeah,
Until this January.
I found out
Deer
they paid
Chester-
$50 million over there
Deer
a
Chester
year.
used to, yeah, I know. They're a great protein source at high altitude. I understand. Like, they eat whatever's on the ground, and then they turn it into protein for you. I understand. But I promised Chester I would never.
I had a guinea pig named Chester as well growing
You
up.
did?
So yeah,
How funny.
I felt bad as well, but when in Rome,
When in Rome. I'm just going to tell you, because you like a good joke. I was once at a meal and someone ordered rabbit, and then it was actually someone I was dating, and then my college roommate said to her, "You're eating Bugs Bunny?" And she dropped her fork and couldn't have another bite. Somehow the word bunny, she could order, it was in French, right? So she could order the French word for rabbit, rabbit or whatever. But as soon as he said Bugs Bunny, she was done.
there wasn't another date after that, or what?
Well, she might have been a first wife. But that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you so much for having me.
And thank you, everyone, for listening.